Hello everyone and welcome back. It's been a little while since we've had a video of this kind, but if you notice, we've got a brand new menu sitting in front of us because that means we are in finally F1 2020. After 3 seasons at Williams and F1 2019 in our career mode, we've worked that team from the back of the grid up to finally taking a championship over. Now we have a whole new set of challenges in F1 2020 as they've added not just a career mode, but now a brand new My Team mode where we are building our own race team, controlling all of the development systems and all the corporate structures, hiring our own second driver, designing our own livery, and making sure we sign sponsors to keep the car paid for. And we are going to be once again trying to work our way into turning that brand new outfit into a championship winning team. So now we get to design our own race suits. I've gone through before and kind of set up the color schemes and everything already. We're going to stick with the same kind of color scheme that I've been using for the helmet in 2019, the white, green, and orange combination. Although this time we are going to go black with the car. It just looked a little bit better. So you can see I've already got my helmet set up, got my race suit set up with those orange stripes, and we got our boy Carl here talking with what we need to do. So we've got sponsors coming up next. So we are going to select a sponsor based on what we're expecting to do in this first season, and also picking our engine supplier and our race team. So race team wise, I have decided to go with a tribute to the band project I've been in with my best friends forever, since way back in high school, the Lo-Fi Hitmen. So we are going to go with Lo-Fi Racing here, and that will be our team title. So hopefully we can get Lo-Fi up to the top of the grid. Probably not in the first season here.
Now, let's choose our primary
So we're going to grab our first primary sponsor. You can see kind of just under the sponsor name the goals that they have for us for our bonuses.
The more our level will go up as the team gains more acclaim. Doing this will increase the income from our sponsors.
So yeah, so taking a look, we've got a few different choices here. You know, 5 finishes, 25 Constructors Championship points. Obviously, the harder the challenge, the more money they're going to pay out. We are going to go with TriStar. We're going to go and try and get into 2 points finishes during the season. I think I was able to get into the points 2 or 3 times during the first season with Williams, so I think that's a pretty reasonable target to hit with a car that's going to be kind of down at the very, very bottom.
Power unit suppliers will also provide upgrades throughout the season at no extra
So right now, with it being the slightly early release, we haven't had the post-Austria update just yet. We are going to go with Honda, though, to give us a little bit of extra flexibility in the engine department. Hopefully they're going to have a good capability to upgrade higher. One of the more budget, cheaper engines to save, so that will give us some more flexibility in developing the car as the season goes on as well. So now we're up to picking our second driver, and we've got a couple of contract levels we can take a look at, and really I'm looking mostly right now at awareness and pace, because those are guys who are not going to bust up the car and going to show pretty good race pace. We're going to spend a little extra on Nick DeVries here to go as our second driver.
Select or edit the livery we'll be running this season. We can add more sponsors to the car as we sign them throughout the year. And don't worry, we can edit our look at any time from HQ.
And now we are going to get that livery set up. So here's the one I've kind of already built in, sticking with the orange as the primary color there, but we're also going to go black on the background. I tested it in a white look, but it just didn't look quite as good, so we're going with that. Now, we're going with the little tree emblem in the black, white, and orange. In the game, there is actually a Q logo in here, but unfortunately, with my color scheme being white, green, and orange, when I set up that Q logo that's kind of split down the middle, it ended up looking pretty much exactly like a Quiznos sandwich shop logo, so kind of had to go with something else. Didn't want to be repping a sandwich shop out on the racetrack. I was looking at it kind of over and over. I'm like, God, it looks really familiar. I'm like, well, it's like the same colors as Subway, right? But I'm like, no, Quiznos. That's right. Quiznos existed and still exists. But yeah, so that is why we are not using that typical little
Right. That's
Q
everything we
logo,
need.
and we are
You
instead
can go
going
back
with
and edit anything we've done
being
so
a
far,
tree,
and we'll come back here
which
at
I
the
think is a
start of
pretty
each
nice little
season.
arrows.
But
Goes
if
right
you're
on the
ready
nose
to
of the
go,
car and the
hit
patch on
advanced
the
to
chest
head to
there.
Team HQ, and we can start our push to the top
Now you
of
can see we
Formula
put the
One.
team colors back behind, and now we're going to go hang out real quick with Will Buxton, who is going to ask us a few questions, and that's going to set our car off on the way.
Okay, we're live in 5, 4, 3.
Hello folks, and welcome to the HQ of Formula One's newest team. We've been invited backstage to gain an exclusive insight into what could be one of the most exciting entries in the sport for many years. Now, we've seen a number of new teams enter the sport over the last decade, amongst their number Manor, Caterham, HRT and of course Haas. And while some have proved to be successful, others have morphed into different teams and some have disappeared completely. What marks this team out, though, as being something different is that its owner is also its driver. Now, there's a rich history of that in Formula One too. Sir Jack Brabham, John Surtees, Graham Hill and Bruce McLaren all drove their own cars in the sport, but it has become increasingly rare in recent years. What's very special about this team, though, is that while the team itself is new to Formula One, so too is its driver and owner.
Whatever happens this season, you've already made the history books. Tell me, do you feel up to the mammoth task of both managing and driving for a Formula One team?
Yeah, I would say this isn't just about me, but it's about my team, and I'm behind them 100%.
Every team needs two drivers. But what was it that drew you?
You know, I
to
would
your
say it was
teammates?
really finding the right fit for the team. I mean, they understand that we're new and appreciate the opportunity that we're going through.
No one aims to finish bottom of the table. Who's the team you're aiming to beat?
You know, I think we're going to beat Williams. I think our best fight is going to be with Alpha Tauri. They were looking strong last season. I think we can really jump up there.
How are you expecting the car to feel out on track?
Ooh, I would say, you know, making the car really as responsive as possible was the big goal, you know, to really carry a lot of corner speed, get good lap times out of that.
The other teams now have years of experience, both on and off the track. How are you planning to
You know,
catch
a
up?
fresh pair of eyes can, you know, find solutions that other ways teams haven't looked. So we found some good ways of reducing drag, actually. Get some good straight line speed.
Overtaking is a key part of this sport. How have you ensured that your car can take advantage of each
I
opportunity?
mean, it comes down
that
to
comes your way?
braking, top speed, and cornering. So we've developed a really light car to really help out with all three of those categories.
And finally, which of your new departments?
Yeah,
are
I'd
you
say
most proud of?
aerodynamics, they're probably the biggest part of F1. What our team has done in a short time is really great. An absolute miracle.
Well, that's about all we've got time for here. We will see how this fledgling team fares in its first Grand Prix.
Okay, great, thank you. That's a wrap.
All right, so here we are, a brand new menu to work with in the first stages of our brand new facility. So we're going to kind of get ready to start managing. The car has not yet been revealed. You can see on the calendar there on the left on the 6th of March is going to be the official reveal there, and kind of skip through our very, very tiny, very new facilities here. Our sim rig is pretty much exactly what I drive on in the game. Some pedals, a wheel, clipped up to the TV. Nothing too exciting in the engine department. No big fancy dynos yet. Pretty much just working on a tray and trying to get the hybrid turbo V6s going on as well. Let's take a look. So one of the things that we get to do is we get to manage our off days by doing a few different things to try and boost the performance of the team. So we're going to go ahead and do a little bit of focus on car development first. We're going to have the car reveal, which is going to interrupt. We're not going to have the extra days to do another development there. So let's see what we can fit. It's only 2 days there. So we're going to have to do something after the car reveal, see what we could make money-wise. Just kind of fiddling, because there is 14 days off, but I don't know if it's going to let us split the days quite like we want to, because I'd like to be able to do both power and durability and the aero chassis developments to really focus up those two, but I think aero and chassis is kind of the first important thing to do. And yeah, we're going to do I was hitting the pre-fill, see what it wanted us to do. Yeah, we're going to go ahead with a merchandise sale because that's going to give us some cash to work with as well. So here we are in the menu screen with our mail. Here's all the development categories. So you can see each facility, how it's running, what it's costing. When you dive into there, you can see we can spend extra money to do special things throughout there. You can see our wind tunnel right now is just a big old fan from Home Depot that's blowing down. At least we got the smoke tube, but you see 5 million, 5 million, 6 million to do extra point generation, chassis development. So you can see now instead of using perks with your driver to get like simultaneous, we're gonna have to spend some cash. So a lot of these are in the several million range. So we're gonna have to spend that money in order to get us going. There's the durability station where we sit it on the little rumble strips and just shake the heck out of the car, and back to the marketing department. So I think we're going to pop into the R&D tree, which is going to look familiar to last year, where we can already get you see we got a free few upgrades from Aerodynamics for our answers during the initial interview with Will Buxton. You can see we also picked up a couple of pieces from the chassis department too. So we're going to spend some money on the power plant development. Now the way that it works in the game now is as the power plant manufacturers make their adjustments and developments, we also get developments for free essentially from them. So it's going to help us move up. But you can see we're just barely above Williams, just below Alpha Tauri there. And here's our sponsor screen where we're going to sign new sponsors. We can trade out drivers in the driver market, but now we got to manage our money and do a whole lot of stuff there. But so far, really the big expenditures of the new driver and the new power plant were kind of the big thing. So let's advance up to the car reveal. You can see our little short info on our activities. And let's pop in. Let's go see this new car. Not a bad looking car. I may make a tweak to the orange to give it a little bit more richness. It's looking a little pale, I think, under those lights, but we'll see how it does actually out on track there. But the next thing we're going to be advancing our time towards is going to be the Australian GP, which is going to be our first race of the season. Now this episode is going to be a little bit on the longer side because we're going to go ahead and actually run that race as well in this episode to get first race out. I didn't want to do a whole episode with no on-track action. Wanted everybody to kind of check it out. But you can see as the weeks progress and the development facilities generate resource points for us, we can actually be making new developments without having to do any races. So Alpha Tauri is a few steps up from us. Yeah, they're just above us there. So we're going to have, they're kind of the next target on there. We should be able to beat Williams on track by pace alone. But Alpha Tauri is kind of our benchmark for the season. Now, we may not be competing with them at the start of the year, but I think we are definitely going to be fighting with them come towards the end because we are going to be very involved with the development. But there's a nice chunk of cash for us. We're up over 1.1 million now. Although everything's very expensive in the F1 team here. So let's head out to Australia. I've already done all the practices for you guys, so we're going to jump out. First time on track in our new car to head out for qualifying. Alright, so here we are, and the first thing you'll notice the brand new engine sounds, and if you've got headphones on, you'll hear the stereo left and right. As you get up close to walls around this circuit, you can actually hear the engine note change on that side. As you peel away from the wall, you lose that reflected sound, but you hear the roar of that Honda engine. And now, I'm kind of being adaptive with the difficulty levels. I started it on 95 for this qualifying session. I'm going to be kind of tweaking it around back and forth, especially as I'm still spending time between here and F1 2019 for the league racing, as we won't be switching over to 2020 until that league season is in fact completed. Well, only 4 more races to go, but we're going to have to be kind of jumping back and forth. Now, you would think not a big issue, but the handling models are quite different in this game compared to 2019. The cars feel much more connected to the track, much better. You feel much more confident on the brakes. The ERS system is completely different. The setups are wildly different as well. You can run a lot more rearward brake bias than you could in 2019, and at least it feels that way to me. But one of the big benefits of, the unfortunate benefits of this lockdown and all the current F1 drivers actually, taking part in the virtual GP series that they had in F1 2019 is that Codemasters got a lot of feedback and development essentially from the drivers talking about how the cars drive. So they're able to really make some adjustments to the way the cars drive, and the drivers are really what spurred the big change in the ERS development. ERS in 2019, obviously there was those 5 modes you had to constantly develop. The drivers basically say, we've got teams basically do the baseline setup for us, and then we've got like a qualifying mode and an overtake button. So that's been changed to this game. You're not going to manage the ERS up and down as much. We are going to have an overtake button to use during the race, which very quickly drains the ERS, and it's going to be at a cost of having to run in lower modes later on. And you can see as we're running out on our final 3rd lap here, we're up about 4 tenths here, but still P22. Nick DeVries, our teammate, is up in P18 at the moment. We'll see if this half-second improvement can get us up there. But the rear end of the car is just a lot more planted in the game here. One little idiosyncrasy that might get fixed though is you get this little blip of torque when you're shifting from 2nd to 3rd under like partial power, and sometimes that can unhook the rear end. But yeah, you see P22, pretty slow car. Australia's never been our best track either. I don't think I've ever qualified off the back of the grid. So let's hand it over to the commentators to introduce us for the new season.
No more testing, no more practice. This is the real deal. And it's make or break here at Albert Park, home of the Australian Grand Prix since 1996. And home to round 1 of this year's Formula One World Championship. Just south of Melbourne's downtown business centre is the one and only Albert Park circuit. 3.3 miles of public roads, closed for the weekend of course, make for a bumpy circuit with little undulation. There are 16 corners around the lake and a couple of good passing opportunities here as well, thanks in part to the DRS zones into turns 1, 3 and 13. Can Mercedes start with victory in their bid to win a 7th consecutive Constructors' title? Could Ferrari or Red Bull establish an advantage early on? And with 22 cars on the grid, how quickly can the new team find their footing? Well, it's great to be back, Anthony Davidson. We've got a lot to talk about this year.
That's right, Crofty. It felt like a long winter, but it's good to finally be back. I have to think the usual suspects will battle it out at the front, but there are always going to be some teething problems early on in the season, so whoever can keep on top of their issues will have the advantage today.
As I mentioned earlier, we're up to 11 teams this season, with a new entry run by, well, of all things, an owner-driver. That's something we haven't seen in this sport since Hector Raback over 4 decades ago. So how are they looking so far?
Ever since their participation was announced, there were questions being asked about whether an outfit like this could survive, and certainly it's proving to be a trial by fire so far. Let's hope they can continue to draw in investment and find a little more pace as well.
Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Sebastian Vettel will start on pole. Fantastic qualifying from the multiple world champion. And it's Charles Leclerc in P2. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Hamilton, Bottas, Max Verstappen and Albon, Raikkonen, Ocon, Sainz and Antonio Giovinazzi, Norris, Ricciardo, Romain Grosjean and Magnussen, Kvyat, Gasly, Lance Stroll and George Russell, De Vries, Latifi, Oldtimer and Sergio Perez completes our grid. Now, it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track.
All right, so this time, no Devin Butler, no Lucas Weber, no artificial drivers in there, just real guys out in front of us. We moved up one position thanks to a penalty for Sergio Perez. I'm guessing an engine problem based on the number of penalty positions he has to take. But we're going to go one stop soft onto the hard tires. But here we are on the grid with the lights all up and ready to go out. Latifi gets away pretty quickly. We get a little bit of a okay second phase. You can see us switch that overtake button on. You look for that little green icon. We're going to switch back, go to the inside. We're 4 wide into turn 1. Hooked up a little bit on, I believe that's George Russell there. That's going to lose us out some positions. We're still just right at the back with Sergio Perez. We're going to look to the inside, dive up, slot in right behind our teammate there. And so you can see, if you look in the MFD there, the multifunction display in that bottom right, there's that orange overtake button. And you see that flip green? You'll see, just like that, the battery start draining, as that's an extra significant boost of power for us to drive down into the corners, and can really generate a lot of lap time on it by giving it a little quick squirt at the start of a straightaway to give you just an initial getaway as soon as your tires are hooked up. And you'll see me use it in little bursts like that when the energy starts getting low, and as we start to slot in behind. But we're up to P19 now, so we've moved up 2 positions. Ooh, a little squirrely on the outside curbing there, but able to keep it safe. We're going to use a little bit of overtake to help us regain that bit of lost time that we had. But Nick De Vries in front of us, our teammate, is on the medium tires, so he's essentially running a different strategy. We're going to have a look down the inside here. We're going to take that position off of him. Try and use our soft tires to strike on ahead as much as we can, since we're going to be pitting early. But only a little bit of wheel banging through turn 1, lap 1, but we're clean through the first lap. You see some damage on the side pods there. Another thing you're going to have to deal with throughout this season, though, is as you do damage to that car, as you make contact at the end of the race, costs you a little bit of your race money. I think a couple, probably 10, 20,000 will be what will be needed to fix that up. But here we are jumping ahead, lap 5, as the tracing points. The pink Mercedes of Lance Stroll has gotten away with us. The other pink Mercedes of Sergio Perez in the racing point has cleared our teammate and his the Williams, and is trying to make his way past us. So there he's around the outside. He turns in on us, kind of gets our car unsettled. We have to counter steer to save it, and that's going to force him off the track. Not a ideal passing opportunity for him. We're checking for any damage. Seemed to be all right there, but that's going to allow De Vries, our teammate, to start battling. We really haven't been able to open a big gap. After the qualifying session, where I was significantly off the pace of our teammate there, I turned the difficulty down just a couple of ticks to make it a little bit more competitive in the race, and I think so far it's done pretty well. Like I said, it's going to be kind of fiddling with it back and forth as I'm going between different tracks where the AI is stronger and weaker to, try and keep the racing good, essentially, and keep the challenge up as well. The cars behave so much differently in a hairpin in this game. There's a lot more feeling of the 4 tires kind of influencing the way the car turns. It really feels more like the front end is rotating the front of the car around that rear axle. Whereas last year's game in low speed corners, you kind of had a feeling of the car being on a bit of a turntable and rotating around the center point. But here we are, first yellow flags, our first DNF of the season, Renault of Daniel Ricciardo, who also DNF'd in real life, unfortunately, in that Renault engine in the first Austrian GP. But jumping ahead a little bit further, lap 9 now, we're coming into the pit lanes this time. Sergio Perez has finally managed to battle his way past our teammate and has got up onto the gearbox of us. Now, if we'd got another lap, I'm quite sure he would overtake us on this main straight, so we're just going to go ahead, hold him up just a teeny bit through the apex there as we're losing a bit of our grip. We're going to dive into the pit lane to get ourselves a brand new set of tires. Braking distances seem to be quite a bit shorter this season. behaving a lot more like what you would see in the onboards of the teams in real life, and as a result, still having to kind of relearn my pit entry spots. But a good 2.9 second stop, not bad. Ooh, a little too much throttle.
See these tires through to the end now.
And here we are coming out P20 with just George Russell behind us. So we're going to see if we can't run away from him and keep him from catching up to us. But you see our battery level, about 50% or so. We've been using that overtake button fairly liberally in straight line situations, but saving it from time to time. Definitely don't want to overspend it in case you have to get into a bit of a battle, but we've got our eyes ahead of us on Romain Grosjean in the Haas there. Another team who I think we can fight with this season early on. But he is 3 seconds out ahead of us as we have a teeny bit of a lockup into that corner there. Normally I would be using a little bit of overtake down these couple of straights, but I'm losing a bit of time, so not using it on that first straight. Kind of a mess through the chicane there, so we're going to use a little bit more of that overtake to help gain back that time. Another great change in F1 2020 here. If you look in the top left now, your gap timing is now live, essentially. It changes much more frequently as opposed to only seeing that gap timing every time you crossed a sector split. But here we are coming past Latifi, who's making his pit stop.
The gap to the car behind is 2.
Thanks, Jeff. Our teammate has not yet made his stop, so he's going to probably lose out to us when he makes his stop. He's out on those medium tires, but it's nice to be able to have that live timing, though, because especially as you're leading a car that is kind of trying to chase you down, and you see that live timing getting close to that 1 second mark, and you know that there's a DRS detection zone coming up. You can use a little bit of extra overtake to kind of keep him outside of that 1 second mark to make sure he doesn't get that DRS. And it's not a big spend of that overtake button, just enough to kind of scorch you a couple extra hundredths to clear that gap. But that's really going to help out. But we've got Grosjean down to 2.8 seconds now. So we're starting to reel him in. At this stage of the race, I'm kind of trying to manage that overtake usage, really only burn it to about 45% or so, and then when it gets that mark, switch off the overtake, let the regular ERS deploy itself, and that way it's recharging relatively comfortably. It kind of gives me a target as far as how much fuel to burn there. So down to 50%, switch it off. There is Sergio Perez coming out of the pits in front of us on a set of medium tires. So it would appear that he's going for a 2-stop, because I don't think those medium tires are going to make it to the end with this much time left to go. I think even guys on the started on the medium tire, and ooh,
DRS will be offline. There's a fault with the rear wing system. Stay out.
Well, that's not helpful. As we're closing up to Sergio Perez, inside that 1 second as he came out of the pits, we lose that DRS, and we're going to have to just kind of live without it for a little while. Hopefully our teams can get that squared away, but Sergio's already pulling just outside that 1 second mark. He is going to be pretty quick going on to chase down Romain Grosjean. I would say Racing Point probably took the biggest steps forward when it came to winter testing this year.
The car ahead is coming to fit the mediums. Car ahead.
Yep.
Now running
Thank you,
medium
Jeff.
tires.
So yeah, definitely gonna be a 2-stop, but they had a pretty good jump in the winter testing. But hopping ahead now, lap 14, Perez has made his way past Romain Grosjean, and now we are starting to catch him up inside a half second. Beckett's trying to step out a little bit on us on throttle coming out of turn 2 there. We managed to keep it under control. Now, not a lot of passing opportunities here. We'll likely, as soon as we get the car straightened out, yep, there we go, flip the fuel mix down into lean, try and save a little bit of fuel through there. Just kind of try and stay inside that 1 second mark of Grosjean. So that way when we get to a DRS zone, if we're close enough, we can attack him pretty aggressively. So there's the three of us. Fair gap to the Williams behind us. He's not quite involved yet, but you see we're right up behind that Haas. So if we can make a good run through the chicane, we can have a good chance to attack him down this final DRS zone of the lap before you head on to the start-finish straight. But a little bit unsettled through the chicane, not in the best position. We're going to flip that rear wing open. Let's see, not close enough to catch him on the slipstream there. So we're just going to have to settle back in. Ran a little bit wide out there, not quite the move we wanted. It is our teammate Nick DeVries who has made his way past the Williams. It would appear. I think he came out behind the Williams after his pit stop phase. So he had to make his way through as he ran long on those medium tires, but not close enough to make a move on Grosjean here. We are going to use that DRS though to close up to the back of him, save some of that overtake. Not going to use it down the front straight. Really not going to use it unless we need to close the gap to him or if I feel like there's going to be an overtaking opportunity. But here's the run into turn 3. Still a little far back through turns 1 and 2. So teeny bit of a lock up coming into turn 3. But here's the opportunity. We're going to use a little bit of overtake in these next sections to really close it up. Try and make that move down that last little back straight coming off that last DRS zone. So we got a much better run on traction out of that corner there. So we're going to chase him down. Let's see if we can survive the dirty air through the chicane. It was one of the things that lost me a lot of time behind him the first time, as I wasn't quite prepared for the feeling of that dirty air. Here our DRS is open and we're just not quite close enough yet. Still trying to make that ground up and see if we can't get on him, but we are still right up behind him as we come through this final little hairpin. If we can get a good run off this final corner, a little hesitant on the throttle, but DRS is open, overtake full on. We're going to commit to this move into turn 1, having a little look to the inside, braking down the inside. He turns right in on us. That's going to be more damage that we're going to have to pay for. Thanks, Roman. But stepping on the throttle, back end gets a little bit out from behind us. This time we managed to survive it. So now we're up into P17 with Sergio Perez up about 2.2 seconds up ahead of us. Let's see if we can't chase him down at this stage.
The gap to the car ahead is 1.8 seconds.
Love the engine tones of the game now. Sounds a lot more mean and angry, which is a great thing in my book. I'm a big fan of that. There we go. Perez diving into the pit lane as we were starting to reel him in. So that's going to move us up to P16. And yeah, that confirms that 2-stop strategy. And now he's going to have to be absolutely insanely fast over the last 11 laps in order to catch us. But we do have Grosjean and Nick closing up behind us. So we're going to jump ahead. Lap 26. We've got another caution up ahead. And see the red Ferrari of Sebastian Vettel right in front of us there, and unfortunately is another casualty of the first race of the season. He's managed to also pull off in a spot right next to the where the marshals can roll that car back behind the wall, so no safety cars needed to recover either of the cars today. It's been full green flag racing all day. No need for really any strategy changes, but Grosjean just at about that 1 second mark. He's not going to have it down the main straight this time at the detection zone. He was just outside that 1 second mark. We are burning quite a lot of overtake. Jumping ahead, lap 28. And here he comes. Grosjean has been hounding us for the past few laps and is right on our tail. You can see our electrical charge, how little is left. We've been having to use so much of it to keep him behind. We're down to the inside, defensive into turn 3 there. Tries to go for a little bit of a cutback. Back end gets a little away from us, but we managed to keep Grosjean behind as he wasn't able to find a way past in that narrow section of the track. Tires are really starting to feel some pain. Fuel is pretty much on a critical level, just barely positive, so we are going to have to save some fuel through, I think, Sector 3 at some point here over the last 2 laps. But here he is having a look down the inside. Not quite close enough to make that move. We left him a little bit of space because he was already getting nose side by side with us. So we had to give him that bit of space. But now he's going to have a little bit of a look. Try and make the Sergio Perez move around the outside of the first turn of the chicane. No, he backs out of it. Smart move. He saw what happened between myself and Checo earlier on. There just wasn't room. But here we are having to go defensive again. Just having to defend for our lives. He's got a little bit more pace than us right now. So he's going to have to really fight with us as those runs into turn 13 are really the big battle. And we can really save some fuel through these last couple of corners. But here we are getting ready to start off the last couple of runs around this circuit. And see if we can keep Romain behind us. He's not quite close enough into turn 1. Now, there was a point during this chase that I managed to clear Romain Grosjean by over a second, get him out of that DRS zone, and Nick DeVries was right there. So I was really hoping that he was going to be able to get up alongside and battle with Grosjean and really kind of give me some breathing space. But that didn't happen. So we've got Grosjean still just absolutely hounding us the rest of the way around this track. So just trying to save what ERS we have for the last few runs, kind of give it little squirts here and there, kind of constantly pay attention to the gap that he's behind us, looking in that brand new virtual rear view mirror, which is nice to have as well. Don't have to rely on just the arrows to pay attention to where the cars are. Another addition that was not in 2019 that is now here for us in 2020. So really the last DRS zone that he's going to have a good braking zone to dive into. He's not close enough to attack us into the braking zone, so we've managed to cover that off. We're going to save just a teeny bit of fuel through the final sector here, so we have as much to deploy as possible down the main straight. So here we are in lean right there. And as we get out of the corner here, we're going to flip it up to standard mix, open up that overtake, and use every last bit of battery that we've got, and cross the line and manage to come across. P15 is how we finish after a couple of DNFs, and we are in front of both of the Williams and one of the Haas's, and we managed to pick up driver of the day. Now normally it would show a picture of us, but apparently it wasn't fast enough loading the picture.
We've witnessed some great battles on the streets of Melbourne today, and they've taken a fantastic win. What do you think it was, Ant, that gave them the edge over the competition today?
I think that smart tyre management on track and very smooth driving definitely assisted in their victory today. That combination meant they got the absolute maximum out of their tyres at all times.
Here come our winners now. A thrilling race and a tremendous effort by Ferrari. Their history is well known, so it's no surprise to fans the world over to see them come out on top once again.
And look, everybody, a different podium celebration. It's not the same one over and over. We're finally going to have some variety from time to time.
So then, it's time to see how this result affects the Drivers' Championship. Charles Leclerc assumes the lead in the standings after today's outstanding result. After an incredible day of racing, who was your driver of the day, Ant?
I have to give it to Old Timer. They demonstrated a very delicate touch in close proximity to other cars, as well as showing a lot of maturity and patience in difficult situations.
It's time to check out the Constructors' standings. Mercedes moved to the top of the table. After an event like that, who knows what the sport has in store for us next time? Be sure to join us again as we continue to bring you the latest excitement in Formula One.
I mean, delicate touch
That
around
was an
other cars
exciting
might be a
race from our
strong word to
perspective.
use there.
Let's have yours.
Oh, hey, Claire.
You gained a lot of positions during the race, didn't you?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. It was super great. The car was nimble, it was light, did everything I wanted it to.
You really looked in control of your car out there. Your team must be thrilled.
Yeah, I mean, I really couldn't do it without the team. I mean, it's not a one-man show here.
Great. Well, that's everything.
Cool. Bye, Claire. All right, so here we are back in the headquarters. I keep wanting to say garage, but it's not the garage anymore. It is the headquarters. And now we've got a pretty short run into our next GP weekend here, apparently. So we've only got 1 and 2 day events to do before we head off to Bahrain. So I'm going to go ahead and do a powertrain development team building. Spend a teeny bit of cash there, but it's golden. Now we have a little bit of money to play around with, 1.5 mil. I'm just going to see if there's anything I can buy. It doesn't look like it's still having to get to the 2 to 5 million in order to make any of that go. Only 340 R&D points right now, so not really anything to purchase too much at the moment. I'm just kind of checking up, but we did rank up our claim, that little globe icon. That is going to allow us to sign a second sponsor. So now we're just going to kind of take a peek through, see what some of the goals are. 75 laps, overtake 5 drivers. Might not be doing overtake 5 drivers. 50 laps, if I'm going to do 50, I'm probably going to do 75. Fastest lap, definitely not on the cards right now. 10 laps, so that's a pretty small payout for that one, though. 70-day contracts, mostly. We're going to sort it by weekly income. Who's going to pay us the most? And I think Atlantic's a good choice. I mean, we're definitely going to put in the practice time. I do put in quite a few practice laps. And it's as a team, so it's between both of us. So really, it's 20 laps or so over the practice weekend, plus the race laps should do us quite well. But you can see we're starting to have some money coming in. We're starting to gain up a little bit of cash flow. As soon as we hit a good spot, we're going to spend off some of that to help develop some of the cars areas. But next thing we'll have to do is put those sponsors on the car somewhere. So we'll dive in at some point to kind of play around. We're going to fast forward up, get that team building done right up next to the
As we continue to increase
the
our
race
acclaim,
weekend here, but
more
we're headed off
potential
to
partners become willing
Bahrain
to
is
work
what's
with
up
us.
next.
We can now approach an additional
Thanks, Carl, for telling me
sponsor
about
from
the
corporate
additional
tab.
sponsor, because I already got it. I already paid for it. Or it paid for me. Yeah. I know what I'm talking about. Yeah, bummer for Ferrari in that first race to have Seb get knocked out very late. It was looking like they had great pace. Obviously, I think that's going to change when the update comes in on the 10th or the 11th when the game officially releases. The Schumacher edition gives us a little bit of early days, but you can see we've got that Atlantic slapped on now on the nose, kind of towards the rear tires there. We've added TriStar on the rear wing, and then we've got both of our sponsors on the tip of the car there. But it's good to be back in a career mode. My team is going to be so much more in depth. It's going to be a bundle of fun. But I'll see you guys next time. We'll head off to the night race of Bahrain. I'll check y'all a little later. The league race will probably come out before that, though. So peace.